I'm Jennifer Purcell, and welcome to my podcast, Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge, where we will discuss, discover, and learn more about the challenges and triumphs of those with NLD and other learning challenges. I do have a website for this podcast, and it is called livingwithnld.com. I also have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter account for the podcast. They are all under the same name, which is Living with NLD. I also have a YouTube channel for the podcast, which can be found by Googling the title of the podcast, which is Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. I would like to tell you about a nonprofit that I use for my research for this podcast. It is called the NVLD Project, and I use their blog for my research. They are a nonprofit that is based in New York and is trying to get NVLD back on the DSM, and they provide many resources for people with NVLD on their website. I'll provide you with the website for them in the podcast description. All proceeds from the ads on this podcast will be donated towards the NVLD project. Please feel free to explore the other topics on the podcast, and hopefully you will learn something new from them. I hope you enjoy today's episodes. And today I am very excited to announce that BetterHelp is now sponsoring this podcast. I have had 7 years of therapy, so I know it can help change your life if you not only let it, but work on the personal goals that you set with your therapist. Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are the greatest asset. And special offering to listeners of Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/ I'll put in the link in the podcast description for you. That's BetterHelp, HELEP. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. Also, another announcement that I have to make is I recently created another podcast called Sleepy Butterfly for people who have challenges with sleeping at night or meditating, and it's geared towards people who are auditorily sensitive or have chronic migraines, and being able to have nice relaxing nature sounds for them to fall asleep to or to meditate to and be able to be refreshed the next day or when they come out of their meditation. So some of the sounds are like chimes or nature sounds like water or rainforest. And again, it's called Sleepy Butterfly. It is on Spotify and also Apple Podcast and Google Podcast. And it's on everywhere else where you can get podcasts as well. So I hope you are able to get some benefits out of that one also. Alrighty, so before I begin today's episode on careless versus normal mistakes in NLD, I would like to let you know that the next Facebook chat, we have one today, but the one for May will be on the third Saturday of the month, which is the 21st, and that is from 10 a.m. to 11:30-ish Pacific time zone. And that's, again, just a safe space for you to be able to talk about things that you have challenges with in regards to NLD or another learning challenge you may have. And you don't have to have a learning challenge. You could be a family member who supports one with a learning challenge to be in the group. And anything that is said in the group stays in the group unless you ask that person permission to share it outside of the group. And let me know if you want to come. Again, it's from 10:30 to from 10 to 11:30 Pacific time zone. And I am having one today. I usually have it on Saturdays, but I'm having one today because tomorrow I'm going to be doing some fun things with friends, so I won't be able to do it tomorrow. So I moved it today so that I could still do it. Hello, so today's episode will be about the effects of growing up in a spiritual community to an NVLDer. Have you grown up going to a spiritual community with your family, friends, or by yourself? If so, has it shaped and molded who you are today and who you interact with? Mine definitely has done that for 26 years that I've been growing up in my mom's spiritual community. My mom is a Unity minister. Unity was founded in 1889 by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. Unity has, quote, its roots are in Christianity. Unity draws heavily upon the universal wisdom found at the heart of all the world's religions and offers a more progressive, metaphysical, and mystical approach to the traditional Christian faith. As a result, Unity is a truly welcoming place for those who consider themselves spiritual but not religious, in quotes, or Christians with questions. Many who have given up a traditional church and an organized religion, but haven't given up on their faith, God, or their spiritual growth, find exactly what they are looking for in Unity, end quote. Our core beliefs and practices. The nature of God. God is the source and creator of all. God is in everything and present as the force of love and wisdom that underlies all of existence. Our nature. We are spiritual beings created in God's image. Human beings are divine at their core, therefore inherently good. Consciousness. We create our life experiences through our dominant ways of thinking and feeling. Thought is formative. Prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation keep us aligned with God, the one great power in the universe. Living consciously. Knowledge of these spiritual practices is not enough. We must live the truth we know in our daily lives, end quote. That was from my mom's website for her spiritual community. Unity and my mom have taught me many skills in life, like the difference between meditating and praying, how to be a minister's daughter, and that everything happens for a reason. Meditating is when you go deep inside yourself to your quiet spot and listen to God or spirit. Praying is when you talk to God or spirit for what you want in your life. When you meditate, I think you will hear what God wants for you in your life, but you might not always like the answer that spirit gives you. that can be tough because sometimes the answer you get can be hard to accept or hear or live with. There are many different forms of meditation. You can sit in a quiet room, go for a walk, or run in nature, or sit outside in a hammock. For me, two of my favorites are running and lying down in a hammock listening to nature sounds. I've learned how to be a minister's daughter by answering questions that people asked me even before I was working for my mom full time. Some asked me if I would follow in her footsteps. My answer was, I don't plan to. I knew more of what went behind the scenes than a congregant would because I would do my homework in the office with my brother. He also got the same question as I did, and he said no. I learned that many people knew who I was even if I didn't know them, but only a few of them know that I have NLD. So do they really know who I am if they don't know about that? Maybe not. Everything in your life happens for a reason, even if you don't know why it occurred right when it happens. I don't know why I was born with NLD, but I'm glad I was because it allowed me to do so many things, including creating this podcast. Some may say that they would regret the mistakes that they've made or bad things that they have done or have happened to them. But I don't regret either of those things one bit. My mistakes, imperfections, and bad experiences have made me who I am today. They also made it easier for me to do this podcast because of being able to relate to sympathize with or emphasize with experiences that other people have gone through in their life. And also, something that the church exposed me to, spiritual community, is that there are many people that I've met, through the spiritual community because of different events that I've gone to. And for me, it was really my social place, and it still is. Being able to make friends there and meet one of my best friends who I still have, Natalie, and being able to also relax there and feel at home there. And I'm so fortunate that I have this in my life because then I'm able to feel more grounded and have a job that is stable and flexible and very easy for me to do because of having an LD. And I really am fortunate for that. And I'm also really glad that my parents let me work for them and that I'm able to help them out in any way that I can. And I think it's also important for me to remember that the spiritual community that I have, it it never goes away. Even if you haven't been there for a long time, you can come back and it will still be there. Of course, it feels different with COVID because there's fewer people there, but it's getting back to now where it feels like home and like a community again because um, it used to feel so different when we would look out and just see masks on people or nobody because it was just staff there and we were recording in the sanctuary before we opened for in-person services. So it was quite different when we got to see people come in person, and then also very different where now they don't have to wear masks anymore. So that's quite special, and being able to see people that we haven't seen for a while and see how they're doing and check in on them. So I hope that with this episode, you're able to learn some more themes and be able to get a better understanding of how spiritual community can impact somebody's life. And another thing about unity is it's fairly welcoming, and it doesn't matter what religion you practice beforehand. You can still practice that there if you want to, or and it doesn't matter what race, gender, or sexual orientation you are. When you come there, we will welcome you no matter what, which is why I really like it. And one of our sayings is that there's one God called by many names and many paths to it. And I really like that because that feels welcoming to me. And another one is our mission statement, which we want to transform the world and heal it with love. So the question for today is, how has being in a spiritual community or having a spiritual practice impacted your life? You can answer it on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast, or email it to me. And I will talk to you next Friday. Bye. And today I am very excited to announce that BetterHelp is now sponsoring this podcast. I have had 7 years of therapy, so I know it can help change your life if you not only let it, but work on the personal goals that you set with your therapist. Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's more affordable than in person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are the greatest asset. And special offering to listeners of Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/. I'll put in the link in the podcast description for you. That's BetterHelp, HELEP. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. As I wrap up, there are some things I would like to share with you. I do have a website for this podcast. It is called livingwithnld.com. I also have a Facebook and Instagram page for this podcast. It is called Living with NLD. I will include the links for those in the description. In conclusion, I would like to hear from my audience. If you know individuals with NLD that I could interview for this podcast, please email me at livingwithnld@gmail.com. What are you interested in learning about NLD? I know I'm not an expert, but I do know I have the living experience of having it. I would like you to practice journaling about your gifts and differences. Also see if there is a way that you can make that difference become easier for you to do than originally it was. Thank you for listening today, and please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to it. Thank you. Bye.